Good evening, my friends. How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Real Talk Show with Dr. India White. I am your host, and I am so humbled and grateful to be here among you guys tonight. Let me tell you, it has been a wonderful day. We are doing a phenomenal series today, but before I get started, I usually want to check on you guys to see how you're doing today. I hope you had a wonderful day. I know for myself, I had a great day. I actually was back in my hometown in Sarasota, just enjoying the breeze. I was tempted to go visit the beach, but I couldn't because I had to do some things for teachers. But it was really neat because I went back to my old high school, which is Sarasota High School. And it was amazing to go and walk on campus, the campus of my alma mater, and to just see the changes and to see the renovations. And it just did not look anything like what I remembered when I was a student. They have enhanced it so much, and it's just solid. We were able to honor a phenomenal teacher out there that's doing some great work. And so I felt really happy after I left, and I was just like, oh my word, Sarasota High School has come a long way. But let me tell you one thing. Not only has it come a long way for my life, this has come a long way since the beginning of Sarasota High School. And since we are talking about Black History and Black History Month, I want to also highlight a star, a prestigious individual who has definitely earned their ranks in society, who, when I say this person, they walk the walk, they talk the talk. I have not met many people as smart as this person that I am honored to bring on the show today. And that is going to be the first African-American that attended Sarasota High School, and that is Dr. Thomas Clyburn. So I'm now going to bring Dr. Thomas on the show. Good evening. How are you?
Hi, Andy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. What an honor to have you on this show. Happy Black History Month.
Same
So
to
tell
you.
us, now, Dr. Clyburn, tell us a little bit about yourself. My guests, they don't know all about you, so we'll let you talk.
Well, I'm humbled by all of this, being asked to come on air and talk to people out there in the ether. I'm a student of the community. I grew up in Sarasota. I grew up in Newtown, Sarasota. I was a child of the '60s who accidentally got involved in the integration process. Was the first Black student, one of two Black students to enter Sarasota High School in 1963. It was a challenge. It was a major challenge in many ways, and I'm not going to speak too much about that. I have something else that you can certainly read to get a sense of that experience. But beyond that, I'm just humbled to be here tonight. Thank you for having me on your program.
No, Dr. Clyburn, thank you so much. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. People are going to ask questions about your experience. You can't just brush that over. So, I mean, we're highlighting Black History Month, and I think it's very appropriate to highlight you as a phenomenal African-American scholar. And so I would like for you to please walk us through just your academic journey from start to your last degrees, and just tell us a little bit about your academic experience.
Well, I have my background is in social psychology. I started out at the undergraduate level with human development. My master's is in applied clinical sociology, and then my PhD is in social psychology. Graduated from a master's program in Norwich University in Vermont, and then my PhD is from Walden University in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. So,
wow. Now I'm going to just rewind a little bit back to what you mentioned. Now I know we are honoring you for just all of your accomplishments, but I want to walk down that journey of being the first student of Sarasota High School back in the day. And if you could just kind of elaborate, what was that entire process like? How did that come about? Can you talk to us about that and what you went through?
Yeah, well, I can start a little bit. I'm originally a Booker High School tornado. I started out there during the '60s, and integration was was peaking throughout the country, and especially in the South. The Little Rock Nine. We've had other students elsewhere. We had integration across all kinds of domains, and Sarasota was now on the radar. We're under the radar, and they were trying to start out integrating 60, 61, 62 with the elementary schools, and they needed to move forward with the high school process. There was no middle school at the time. We had actually 7th to 12th grade in high school at that time. So I was part of that group that was called on to integrate Sarasota High School. It's kind of interesting because all my friends, there was 13 of us, roughly 13 of us, to go to Sarasota High School starting in the fall of 1963. And I remember this clearly, the day that I was supposed to go to class with my friends, at least go to school with them to Sarasota High School. A school bus pulls up in front of Booker High School, and I'm standing out there waiting on my friends to show up, and the door on the bus opens, and this gentleman on the bus was a bus driver, says, "Are you Thomas Clyburn?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, "Well, get on. I'm going to take you to school." I said, "Well, what about the other students?" He says, "You're it." And lo and behold, I'm looking at myself and going, "Whoa, I'm the only one who can ride this big Bluebird school bus across town." So, it built a little anxiety because I'm moving from my comfort zone, my own community that I knew very well, to someplace I wasn't familiar with. And I can see the pictures in my brain now as we get on the road. We're getting on Myrtle Street, going east toward Washington Boulevard, take a right on Washington, go south, and pass by the hub of Newtown, where we all grew up as blacks in the city of Sarasota. Passed by a cemetery where my dad was buried at the same time in the 1960. And then we finally get to the school. That was Sarasota High School. I hadn't seen it before. Haven't been on that side of town. You have to remember something. The 50s and 60s were really turbulent for blacks. You couldn't go many places. You couldn't do many things. We still had separate bathrooms. We had separate water fountains, all kinds of things that we take for granted today. Those things still existed. And so I was part of that process. But we pulled up into the left lane of 41, Highway 41, to go to school, for me to go to school. And the bus driver pulls around in this parking lot. I'm looking around at all these cars. I'm going, man, they've got hundreds of cars here. This place is huge. It's got tons of teachers with all these cars. Well, you know what? I didn't know at the time all those cars were for kids. When I was in school, we high school kids didn't have one car among us to drive to school. We either walked to school, or there was a bus for those that were far enough away that had to catch a bus to school. And other than that, none of my friends had a car. None of us had anything transportation-wise to go. Maybe a bicycle if somebody rode a bike, but that's about it. But the bus pulls up to the south end of Sarasota High School, this nice cathedral building, and all these kids are out there standing out there talking, all of them who happen to be white, male and females, all over the place. They were just talking away before class was to start. And the bus driver says, "Well, I'll see you later on this afternoon. I'll pick you up," because this was an experiment. Really, I was in the process of going through an experiment. And I remember what I wore that day. I wore patent leather shoes. The patent leather shoes, you put the coins in the little slot in the front of them, leather shoes. And I had taps on the bottom of my shoes. I didn't want to wear them out. And interestingly, the floor as you walk into Sarasota High School, that part of the building was all wood floor. So you could hear those taps going off as I was walking. But before I got into that front door to get inside, these kids that were talking all turned around and saw me get off the bus, and they stopped talking. They all stopped talking. Looking like, what's this guy doing here? I had my school books in my hand and started walking slowly up to that door. And it was like Moses with his staff at the Red Sea. It parted. They spread out and let me through. They didn't say a word, but you could hear some mumbling and grumblings going on. It was so quiet in that hallway, you could hear my feet hit the floor of the wood floor of the building. That's how quiet it was.
Wow.
I was looking for the administration's office to meet the principal and go into to talk to someone. And it was really quiet. My heart was in my throat. I could actually feel my blood pressure go up. I could feel my heart thumping pretty hard. It was an experience. It really was an experience.
Oh,
It wasn't a friendly time. Let's put it that way. It was not friendly. Uh, Things got crazier. That was the easiest day. Day one was the easiest day. From that point on, I spent a lot of my time for 2 years. Remember, there was two of us that finally went there, but the other person, friend of mine, Wilhelmina Armstrong, was on the other side of the schools.
mm.
So I never saw her for 2 years. I,
Oh, wow.
I never saw her at lunchtime. I never saw her at any classes. We never had any classes together. I think it was deliberate. I think they wanted to test us to see how we can manage ourselves and handle that kind of situation. It was challenging. It was very challenging. It wasn't challenging so much academically, though it was new information for me. I picked up on it pretty well. I did okay there. But the experiences that I went through day in and day out were the things that I had to learn to cope with.
Yeah.
From being called the N-word and grumblings as I walked past, or at lunchtime or right after lunch when I was ready to catch the bus to go back to Newtown, back to my home base. Kids on the second floor of the building throwing garbage out at me, bottles and cans and anything else they could to try to hit me as I walk. Now I'm not looking around at watching these kids throw. I can see all this stuff past me as I walk down the sidewalk. So it was
Was
a real.
that every day? Was that once in a while?
It was pretty regular. It was pretty regular. It was more than once a week. I had 5 days in a week, 2 or 3 times a week, something came out of a window at me.
Oh,
So
my.
the
Wow.
the most dangerous thing that ever happened to me was I remember one morning. This was one school morning. I started to get there early because I didn't want to face all that business at the front door. So I asked the driver to drop me off early so I would get in early. And I went into my classroom, my homeroom class, and I was sitting there. I remember seeing this young man, student, walking up the steps with a German Shepherd on a leash. And,
Wow.
and I'm thinking, yeah,
That is crazy.
this is a
This
crazy.
is crazy.
Yeah, here's a kid coming to school with his dog. I'm thinking, well, this is a new environment. I have to get used to it.
Oh my gosh.
But
I
what's
couldn't
really
imagine.
interesting, a few minutes later, I'm sitting in my classroom. My classroom is the very first class on the north end of the building. Right next to it is a boys' bathroom. And back in the day, you could hear yourself and hear people in the bathroom on the other side. So the walls were not well insulated, wasn't thick or anything. The next thing I knew, I heard a loud pop. And
Mhm.
what happened was a bullet went behind me. The kid had shot at me through the
Oh,
wall. And in
this
the
is
classroom, I was sitting at my desk, and the bullet
wow.
went behind me. And before I knew it, there were four adult male teachers and the principal coming into the room. And I remember the principal says, "Get up, get inside of us, and you stay inside and keep up with us. You're going to come to my office now." He had nothing else to say. I picked up my bag and ran down to his office with had 4 people around me, blocked any kind of incident that may have happened.
Oh my word. Did you have any counseling or did they have any procedures in place even afterwards to make sure there weren't any guns on campus?
Well, I don't know because I was locked in his office. He told me not to come out. The only time I would come out is when he would come in.
Oh my word.
So I was locked in his office, and they must have had the police out there or something. Somebody had to do something because they locked the school down. They locked the school down, and I don't know what happened to the student. I don't know what happened to the gun. I don't even know what happened to the dog. But I remember this wording from the principal. The PA system,
The dog.
it came on sometime later. I mean, it was quite a while, and I remember him saying, "This will not be another Selma, Alabama."
Mm.
Something of that order, because there was a bombing of the church in Birmingham
Mm.
during that time. It was October. It
Oh
was
my word.
1953, and those 4 girls got bombed at the church.
Were you in school when that happened?
Yep, yep,
So
yep.
were you was that like the same time you're being integrated, or was that like years before, or was that like the same period?
Same period.
Oh my
Same
word.
same month, everything.
Oh,
It was just crazy. But as a
oh
16,
my goodness.
I wasn't sure how I was going to handle that. I knew from that experience that I didn't know what I was going to do. And the principal, it forced me to not go back to school for a while at Sarasota. I decided I was going to hide out at Booker and go to the music room and play my clarinet. I played in a band while I was
Wow.
at Booker. And a few things happened. Finally, they caught up with me, and principal at Booker says, I hear that you didn't go to school for the last couple of weeks over at Sarasota. I said, yeah, I don't want to go back. He said, why? I said, well, I'm telling you right now, it's not a good place for me to be. He says, I heard the story, but listen, we will be there to protect you. I said, well, that didn't happen the last time. I don't know if it's going to happen
Yeah.
again. Next thing you know, he says, let's give it a try. But I promise you it'll be better. I was very hesitant to go back. I got on the bus. The bus driver knew something was up. I guess he had heard the story too. And eventually, as we were driving back to Sarasota some weeks later, rather than him driving me and pulling in the way that we normally would to go to school, he kept driving past the school going south. And I'm thinking, what's going on? I'm not even going to school. He didn't say anything. He just kept driving. Finally, he got far enough away and he said something. He says, you know what? This is your skip day. We're going to have a discussion. I want to take you someplace you can unwind and not worry so much about what's going on. We ended up down at, I want to say Venice Beach. We were down quite a ways.
Yeah.
Inglewood, if I'm not mistaken. We crossed over a bridge in Inglewood, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow.
There. It was pretty remote at the time. I remember some of the settings of the environment, and I sat there and I talked with him. He just told me, you can say anything you want to say. It won't be heard. No one will hear it but me. And I told him, I said, you know what? I don't want to go back there. I really don't want to go back there. This is crazy. Somebody's trying to kill me, and I didn't understand it all, being a 16, 17-year-old at the time. But I know I didn't want to go back and have to be sitting there and be facing something like that. And he told me a story. He says, let me tell you. He says, you have to go back and you have to do this because you're breaking ground for people that will be following you, students that will be following you down the road. And you got to stick it out. I'm a tough kid. I was a tough kid. I remember fighting from 2nd grade to 11th grade, all those years in between. I mean, I was always in something. So I wasn't afraid of fights. I wasn't afraid of. I could stand my ground there. I'm not afraid of that at all. But people bringing guns and knives and dogs and all of this kind of stuff to school, and I'm defensive against something like that. You gotta
I couldn't handle a dog, Dr. Clyburn. I don't know what I would do. I commend you for doing that because it did pave the way for, people like myself to go there. I don't know what I would have done if somebody would have shot at me, or I just think this is incredible that you survived all that. And I just want to know, what was your mindset? What helped you kind of persist through all that and muster up enough strength to even go back through those halls again?
Well, strategy was to avoid as many people as possible. Number one, it was really interesting. After that event, I remember sitting in the classroom by myself. Once I started back to class, I was always there early. And I remember a female student coming in the classroom. She's part of the homeroom class. She said as far away from me as possible during that time. And we never talked. But over time, I guess her defenses and concern about me doing something to her was moved. And finally, one morning, she walked in and said to me, hello. I was shocked. She said hello to me. And I just said hello back. How you doing? That's all we said. And eventually, every morning she came in, she said hello. She was always the second person in the classroom. I was the first. So she started talking to me from afar, just asking me questions. How you doing? How's life treating you? All kinds of incidental stuff. But eventually what I noticed was over time, she started getting closer and closer to me from the desk that we were at. I was diagonally away from her, and she moved as close as she could to me without offending me or without being threatened or feeling afraid. But she'd always get up before anyone else came into the classroom. And I think she did it out of curiosity.
Oh, wow.
She was the brave one because she could have been easily ostracized by her own peer group. But she took a chance and she spoke to me. I guess she found out I wasn't a threat after all. So,
and I'm sure with the highlight and the peak of racism, unfortunately, that existed in that time, it was very detrimental for her to say something to you. I mean, especially if it was still segregated for the most part.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my. So what did your parents think about all of this?
My mom was the only mom that my dad had died in 1960. I don't think she ever knew because I never told her, and I know the school didn't tell her about the experiences I was going through. So I didn't want her to. I had other siblings to worry about. I didn't want them to go through all that nonsense. I didn't want her to go through it. My mom was a mama bear, though. Trust me, if she'd have found out, all hell would have broken loose. I know her. I know what she would have done. And things have happened like that in the past, not at Sarasota High School, but at Booker. And she didn't play. She was serious. She was a serious mama. So,
Wow.
and I know she would protect me if I told her the story. So I didn't tell her the story to this very day, even though she's passed away now. I've never told her the story that what happened to me.
Wow. And I'm just so happy that you endured that. Because it did pave the way. And tell us about your graduation from Sarasota High School.
I did not. I graduated from Booker. I was a test case, so I couldn't participate in any activities at Sarasota High School. I could only participate in things after school at Booker High School, music, sports. Oh. I was an athlete in high school. I did all the things in high school. I was student council at Booker, but that was removed. I'm no longer part of that. I even was nominated to run for vice president of student council. That didn't happen. None of that happened. But what I did was I lived through that. I wasn't thinking about the world, about the future, what it was going to be like. I just wanted to get this over with. And I finally, I graduated from Booker. I went through the Booker graduation process, but all that other business was left behind. I thought I left it behind. But life is funny. I think God had a plan. I really do. I think He put me in a place. I'm sorry if I'm being biased here, patriarchal here, but God had a plan, and it was it was rough growing up. Trust me. I went through a number of things going on from that time on. My dad died. My grandfather died a year later after my dad. Things in school, all kinds of nonsense. But I got through it. I had not planned. I had planned to go in the military. I planned to go in the Air Force. Something happened. I got a shot to go to MJC, Manatee Junior College. It's now in State College in Florida. I went there with intent to just get a 2-year degree, and hopefully I would be able to go to a higher education institution after those 2 years. I got on a scholarship. I was lucky. I'm a musician too, so I can play all the woodwinds. I play flute, clarinet, oboe, and I teach a little bit of that now to students that need it. But I had a chance to go to school and really make something of myself. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do as I grew up, because the challenges today is that many students don't see the value of education like I did under my generation. We fought for education like you would not believe.
Wow.
So I had to set the table for the people like yourself following me to graduate, to go through that, take the fire, put it on my back, take the onus of all the challenges, put it on my back, and ended up, going through that and making your life hopefully a little better than mine. I know there was
I wasn't shot at, Dr. Clyburn. I didn't have dogs chasing me at school. So a little bit better. I owe you the world for that. Thank you. I mean, I thought I had it bad as the only Black in my class at Sarasota.
Yeah.
But by far, I mean, nothing compared to what you've had to go through for us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying
that.
Yeah. Before you start, I want to show this now before we get away. I wrote about my experiences from that time as a teen. And this book, if you can see it.
Oh, wow.
Up there, it's titled, I Am Because We Are, Aspects of Becoming an Agent of Social Change in My Community. And my name's at the bottom, and you'll see that down there too. There we go.
Congratulations.
And thank you for helping me get this out of my system, because I needed to get it out. I've been holding on to the thoughts for so many years, and then finally one day here in the last 6 months, everything's kind of exploded around me, and I just started working on it. and it's come out. It looks pretty decent. I'm impressed. I got some scholarly wording in there somewhere. I don't know, but it's an experience. It's an experience of my thinking, the way I think, and how I see the world from my point of view. It's been a wild ride, but it's been a learning ride along the way for me too. So.
Well, it's fantastic. Congratulations. And is this your first book?
My first book. I'm already starting on the second. I'm writing my second book.
Wow.
Continuation of this. So I'm going to be talking about my young adulthood, and then hopefully not try to. I'm a little older than that now, but I'm going to incorporate some of those experiences from my teenage years as they mellowed and morphed into my young adulthood and experiences I went through at that time. And we'll see what happens. So if you read book one, you can expect book two will be right behind, and it'll continue with some of my thoughts and how I got to be where I am today. I've taught graduate school for 15 years. I didn't expect to teach. I didn't want to be a teacher. My job wasn't to be a teacher. I wanted to be a clinical psychologist.
Oh, wow.
But my dean and my mentor, my doctoral mentor, said, "Oh, no, you're a teacher. I know that. I've heard a lot of stories about you. You're a teacher." And I said, "No, I'm not a teacher." And he said, "Yes, you are." But anyway, I'm a teacher. I've been teaching a while. I've been teaching students, especially those that work on their doctorate degrees, trying to find a way to graduate. I'm right here. I can help you out. Trust me, I will get you through it. I was an associate dean at a university. I know the rules and I know the game. If you need to get through that, come to me. We can figure out a way to get you through it, and you can be done with it. So,
you guys are hearing this wealth of knowledge here. Is everyone tapping in? Dr. Clyburn has just written his first book. This is the first African American that attended Sarasota High School. He is very prestigious. He now helps students that are working on their doctorates, trying to help them with finishing their dissertation, walking through navigating the storms of the education system. And again, he is the first time author. This is phenomenal. The name of the book is called I Am Because We Are. Again, this is a new book, new author. I Am Because We Are. And Dr. Clyburn, how can they contact you if they're wanting a copy of this book?
you certainly go out on was it Facebook is one place I think you
Yes.
talked about. PayPal, you can get the book through PayPal, and we'll be using Dr. Clyburn, Dr. Thomas Clyburn speaks at gmail.com. That's the way to get it.
Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So guys, listen, do yourself a favor and buy this book. I am definitely purchasing my copy. This is such an honor. You can email Dr. Clyburn at Dr. Thomas Clyburn Speaks at gmail.com. Again, that's at Dr. Thomas Clyburn Speaks at gmail.com, and just title it book and he'll know. Okay. He'll be able to send you the PayPal link. I also have attached for you guys on my social media platforms a copy of what the book looks like and the link that goes directly to Dr. Clyburn's book purchase. So definitely make sure you check that out. Again, make sure you invest in this. Dr. Clyburn is available for speaking. He's available to have book signings and to just also counsel you guys if you need help on dissertations or other things, or even if you need lessons for your child that's learning how to play an instrument or whatnot. So definitely invest here. Take advantage of this phenomenal opportunity. Do not sleep on this, okay? I know the show is about to wrap up because we did a special highlight show today. So Dr. Clyburn, do you have any last words for us before we wrap up the show tonight?
Well, just stay humble. I mean, that's one of the keys to being successful. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't go too high or too low. Stay right in the middle. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in all the minutiae out there in the world right now. There's a lot of craziness going on. Try to avoid that. Wear your mask too. Number one, wear your mask. Don't play the game. Just be prepared for anything. My old high school principal said, never get ready, stay ready, because you never know when your day is going to come.
Oh, wow. That's good. Great advice. Thank you, Dr. Clyburn. Definitely eating some humble pie. So again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Real Talk Show. I do have a different one tonight, but this one was a special author highlight listen, if you are Sarasota County community, Hillsborough County community, Miami-Dade, I don't care where you are, nationally, you need to share this episode tonight. This was definitely a phenomenal highlight. And again, Dr. Clyburn, thank you so much for everything, and thank you for being a part of the Real Talk Show tonight.
Thank you for allowing me to be part of it.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
All right.
Take care, guys. Bye.